guys, it's Ollie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So a couple months ago, I asked you guys to give me your snail questions, and I gathered the most common, and I'm finally putting it into a video. Sorry that it's kind of delayed, but I just haven't had the time to squeeze it into the different stuff I've been doing on the channel. I also do want to have a disclaimer because, of course, it's a snail video. I have to have the disclaimers. I'm not an expert. I keep snails as a hobby. This video is about land snails, not giant land snails, like garden snails, small land snails, not giant African land snails or anything like that. It's not about aquatic snails. But I am not an expert. Always seek a second or even a third opinion. As many as you can get, the better. And if you notice I had any information wrong in this video, please feel free to comment that down below so that I can fix anything that I need to fix. But let's just go ahead and get right into the questions. I also have my handy dandy notebook here with all of the questions for me to refer back to if I need to. Mantis Master asked, what is the most common disease in garden snails? So, I couldn't really find a direct answer to this online anywhere. I researched it for a while now. I've asked around. I don't have a definite answer. I don't think there's any studies been done on it since they are kind of newer in the pet trade and whatnot. So, I will say some more of the common ones I've seen are things like mental collapse or tears, deep retraction syndrome. They can have parasitic mites. They can have things like rat lungworm. Just stuff like that. Most of those are not contagious. Rat lungworm is contagious. Just don't eat your snails. Wash your hands afterwards. We've been through this a few times. But for deep retraction syndrome and mental collapse and tears, I've done videos on them on their own. So if you want to go see that, those are on my channel. But other than those are the most common that I see. I also do go over parasites and mites and what to do with that in other videos as well. So go check those out if you're interested. I'm not going to go too into it here, so I'm going to try to keep this video a little short, but that is my not so in-depth answer. I'm really sorry I couldn't find any more information on this. Just doesn't seem to be a lot of studies done on it. Alright, and then Lisa Watkins asked, is it normal for snails to constantly be on the roof of their enclosure? Yes, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal behavior. Snails seem to enjoy hanging out on the top of their enclosure. Not really sure why, they just do. Some of them don't. Some prefer to stay buried and burrowed and hidden. It just depends on your snail. So my short answer is that's completely normal. No cause for concern there. It's okay. Lisa Watkins also asked if there should be any concern with a longer shell and a smaller body. I would have to see a picture to be a little bit more correct about the answer here, but the biggest answer I can kind of think of is just some snails have longer, so if you mean like longer, like coned almost shells, that could just be the species of snail. Some snails are also just smaller, as long as they're not like significantly smaller than their shell and it's causing them issues. I definitely wouldn't breed or sell this snail if you think there's any kind of genetic thing going on. Just for the ethics of it, it could have been a runt, it could have deep retraction syndrome, stuff like that. So, okay, like the beginning stages of deep retraction syndrome, stuff like that. So, I'm not for sure, because I could not see your snail. There were no pictures or anything. If you want to, feel free to DM me on Instagram, and I might be able to tell you more. I hopefully could tell you more, but that's my short answer for that, if anyone else has that kind of problem. Mike Wazowski asked if snail eggs can be born with a disease or a parasite, like captive bred, all of that, especially if you put them in a separate enclosure. They should be fine. As far as I'm aware, they can't really be born with those things. There are some snails that have genetic issues. Most of the time you catch those in checking for runts and whatnot, so that's kind of what I have for that. That's why you have those cycles of like checking for runts and making sure you at least hold back the runts or call the runts. So just do that and don't sell them out until you get those checks out of the way. They also wouldn't be big enough yet anyway to sell, so I would just say that. But yeah, if they're put in a separate enclosure, which I recommend anyway, then it should be fine. I would ask around a little bit more. I'm not a snail breeder, I just keep them as a hobby, so take that with what you will. I don't think that they would be born with those things unless it's like just a genetic issue. I'm keeping this a little bit small, so I picked 2 answers from Instagram, and I forgot to screenshot who the questions were from. I'm really sorry. So I'm reading this anonymous. If you asked them, just comment down below. I'm really sorry. So on Instagram, someone asked, is a garden snail just a Helica aspersa, or is it any land snail? This is a bit of a complicated question, so I wrote down some things on here. There are roughly 43,000 species of snails out there, as far as we know, for now. They are normally categorized into land snails, sea snails, and freshwater snails. So Helix aspersums is what people normally mean when they talk about garden snails. Those are like garden snails. However, most land snails that aren't giant land snails can be categorized as garden snails for the most part. Some people can just call them garden snails. It's very wishy-washy because they're really hard to identify if you really, really don't know snails. I certainly can't identify like a bunch of wild species. So a lot of times people just call them all garden snails, and that's okay. That's fine. That the Helix aspersum is like the garden snail. The rest of them are kind of just land snails, and then you differentiate between land snails and giant land snails. So I've been trying to transfer my language to just land snails, but some people will still, and I have in the past, if I say garden snails, I usually just mean land snails that aren't giant land snails. You know what I mean? So that would be my answer for that. It's a bit complicated. And the last question of the day is, I'm interested in getting a snail, where should I buy? So it's complicated, right? Because there's a lot of laws around snails here in the US. So honestly, my recommendation would be to find someone local and that breeds snails or owns them and would be willing to like give you the eggs or something. And doing that way, you can probably do that like through Instagram. You can probably find some. There are some that'll ship. You have to be really careful with that because of legality. But some will ship to you. I don't recommend, I think it's happy snails and slime puppies, I think. Those ones, don't buy from them because most of their stuff is sick or dead on arrival. So if you do find someone that ships online, like on Etsy or something, make sure you really look into the reviews and make sure they're legit and they're not just going to like send you some dead snails and it be a whole mess and you get scammed. So yeah, I've never bought online, so I can't be much of help to that. The only ones I ever got online was from a Facebook group, but that was before Facebook did the whole no live animal, exchange stuff. So I don't really know. All I can say is find someone local if you can. Look on Instagram and get some advice from people on Instagram. Some of them will breed snails and know the laws a little bit better and will ship out and breed snails that can be shipped to you. So that would be my recommendation. I'm really sorry I can't be much help on this one, but I definitely do say just to be careful. Make sure you're not getting scammed and make sure that the person knows what they're talking about. One of the things I would ask if I'm buying is what do they do with the runts? So the acceptable answers would just be that they either hold them back and keep them or they cull. So I would just ask them some questions about their care, if they can give you any advice, if that all lines up, and if they can tell you their runt process, if they have any kind of culling process, stuff like that to make sure that you're getting from a reliable source. But that's all I really have to say about buying from them. Best of luck. If you do find someone that's like not local and that does ship, please reach out and let me know how that experience went for you, because I would be interested in buying some new snails soon. So if you guys know where to get snails, let me know, please. Alright guys, well that was pretty much it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful and that I answered your guys' questions well enough. I really like doing these kinds of videos, so we'll probably do another one soon. If you have any snail questions, leave them in the comments below and maybe we'll do a part 2 to this. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. Links will be down in the description below, as well as my art account. Commissions are open and they're pretty cheap if I do say so myself. So if you want to get a commission, head over there. Links in the description as well. I also have a Facebook group you can join. It's just a place where we can ask for advice, share photos of our pets, have conversations, stuff like that. It is Ollie Exotics Thriving Over Surviving, but the link is also in the description below. And as always, don't forget to hit the like button for the algorithm and subscribe to this channel if you're into this kind of content or really any animal kind of content. I upload every single Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you can hit the bell if you don't remember that. And as always, I'll see you next week. Bye!